From Fort Smith, Arkansas, this is Midwest Sports Saturday. Good morning, I'm Joey McWilliams. It is a privilege to get to visit with you today here on Midwest Sports Saturday. This is our first broadcast of 2025 as we're excited to get to be here. I'm thrilled. We are at the home of the Great American Conference Basketball Tournament for 2024-2025, and this is a new location for the GAC. I'm joined today by Luke McConnell. I want to give him a chance to talk here in just a moment, but it's been a lot of fun. We are looking at volleyball. We're looking at football. That is on the channel right now, so we're getting ready to preview a lot of that stuff. But guess what? We're still in the 24-25 academic and athletic year, and we have a lot more to be done this year. So we're going to talk basketball today, Division II basketball. And Luke, just want to bring you on in. Luke, my broadcast partner, he is we're splitting time with play-by-play and color and just basically doing a lot of talking, doing some telestrator work as well here on site in Fort Smith, and I'm having a lot of fun. I think this 25 basketball championship for the Great American Conference is as good as any that I've seen in the 14 years of this conference.
Yeah, it's been really open. First, thanks for having me back. Obviously, my appearance last year was good enough to earn the repeat invite, so
open invitation.
That's right.
Open invitation, sir.
But yeah, it's really open. You know, Southern Nazarene, the number one seed on both the men and the women's side, but neither of them just ran away from everybody. It looked like the SNU men might do that mid-late January, but 4-game losing streak late brought them back to the pack a little bit. So, but yeah, it's really open. A lot of really good teams on both sides. Teams that have had their best years in a while. The Oklahoma Baptist women had their best D2 season. Henderson State, Ouachita, their first winning record in 6 years on the men's side. So it's been really wide open this year, and that makes for really good tournament basketball, and we've seen that through the first round of action, and we've got some really good, compelling semifinals today.
Absolutely. You know, top seeds, when you get the number one seed, you get the number two seed in an 8-team field, generally you expect them to move on, and they did on day one, and we did see them distance themselves, you know, enough that built up a pretty good lead to where they could hold on and I'm not going to say cruise into the final or the semifinal, but enough that it made a difference. Day two was a totally different story, and we actually had a couple of mild upsets. You get a 5 over a 4 and a 6 over a 3. Maybe not the most amazing upsets, but they are still on paper an upset, and it was a fun day of basketball on day two specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. The Northwestern women knocking off Oklahoma Baptist in double overtime. That was an exciting game, and it was one that you and I both agreed Northwestern deserved to win that game just based on how they played. Oklahoma Baptist just did not have a great shooting performance, and yet because of miscues and Oklahoma Baptist's own fight, they were right there at the end, had a chance to win. Northwestern ties it to send it to overtime, and then in double overtime, they finally get the win. But then Henderson State knocking off the Oklahoma Baptist. Man, tough day yesterday for the Bison overall, dropping both of those quarterfinal games. But
and for Southwestern Oklahoma, too.
Yes, absolutely. But then Henderson State getting the mild upset over the 4-seed Oklahoma Baptist men. But, yeah, it's been – and, again, we say mild upset, and it didn't really feel like an upset because we have seen a 22-game conference schedule and seen how good these teams are and how even they are across the board. There's teams that are slightly better in some areas than others, but nobody, again, head and shoulders above the rest. So even the upsets don't feel like, oh, that was shocking.
Right. I want to go back to one of those two. You were talking about Northwestern and the course of the game too, and I agree with you. Felt like that the Rangers really deserved to win that game. The game plan was excellent, and Coach Tasha Dieselhorst just did a fantastic job. There have been some teams that won. Of the 8 teams that won, some of the storylines really I felt like were compelling to the extent of Northwestern. It's the first time the Rangers have won a GAC tournament game. And so that was a really big deal for Coach Dieselhorst's program. Same thing, it's been a few years for Southeastern to have won a game. I mean, the last time that Southeastern's women's basketball won a GAC tournament game was winning the whole thing back in 2021. So for Coach Darren Grover, for his program to pick up a win too, was there anything that stands out to you as storyline that, this was something that was really good for the team or to just back up any of those?
Yeah, the Rangers getting their first win. That's their first tournament win on the men or the women's side since Northwestern became a member of the GAC. So anytime you have the first of something for a program, that's always really cool. I love the Harding story and just seeing how they have come from a team that was winning 7-8 games total over the last several years under Jeff Morgan to they're the 3 seed and playing really well, one of the best offensive teams in the country from a shooting perspective. So that's been really cool to see. Washita resurging has been cool to see because Dennis Nutt's a great coach. He's had moments in the GAC tournament over the years where maybe they've sprung an upset or pushed a team they shouldn't. But just their regular season records haven't been great over the course of a season in quite some time. So to see him get some shine, if you will, for his coaching job this year has been really cool to see as well. And yeah, like you mentioned on Southeastern, the women, injuries have just been so bad for them the last 3 years. So it's cool to see them at full strength, getting to experience success with a full roster with no limitations, where the only thing that you can point to for a loss or for not playing well is the fact that they just didn't play well. It's not. There's no excuses built in, and I think Coach Grover feels some relief from that as well.
In talking about Harding too, it warrants mention. Harding, the men's basketball team won the GAC tournament championship in 2014. In 2016, they were a top seed and made it all the way to the finals and lost in that championship game. That was the last time that Harding's men won a GAC tournament game as well. So you go 9 years between then and yesterday when Harding's men move on, as you talked about, into the semifinals. They'll be playing today. 4 semifinal games today on the docket. Before I get into that part of the schedule, I know that you know a lot and you're intimately associated with the Southern Nazarene program. Talk a little bit about what you do, and both Southern Nazarene's women's and men's teams are the top seeds coming into the tournament, coming off regular season championships again in Bethany. Congratulations to the Crimson Storm and both Coach May and Coach Foster and what they've done. Tell us a little bit about Southern Nazarene.
Well, I've been spoiled because I've been the play-by-play voice for Southern Nazarene the last 7 years, and in that I've gotten to see 10 net cuttings over the course of regular season championships and tournament championships on the men and women's side. So I've been really spoiled to be around such great programs under Trent May, Adam Bohach, and now B.J. Foster. So very blessed in that regard. But it's been an amazing year for SNU. Not a ton of expectations coming in for either side as far as outside of past things. SNU was voted second in the preseason poll on the women's side, I believe, and that was November. It's been a while, so I could be wrong there. But they lost 4 starters from their Sweet 16 team a year ago. A lot of new faces, a lot of familiar faces in bigger roles, not all surrounding Hannah Giddy. Not sure how that was all going to play out, and all they did was go 19-3 in conference play. And win their 3rd straight regular season championship. And talking to Trent May, he's, I'd asked him about, do you feel like you want to win the GAC tournament because, you didn't get to last year, lost to Harding in the or Henderson State in the semifinals. And, he was saying that somebody had said that, well, you didn't quite check all the boxes last year because, the tournament and stuff. And he was like, the regular season means so much more to me personally because it's a 22-game grind.
Yes.
If you're on top after 22 games, then that is the true barometer of success and of championships for him. Whereas, the tournament, you get 3 games, you get somebody gets hot, somebody gets hurt, something happens. It's a very small sample size of games, whereas the regular season you find out a lot about a team and a program. So it's been cool to see Trent and his program continue to have success despite a lot of changes and a lot of turnover. On the men's side, zero clue what to expect coming in with a totally new roster. Coach Foster, 2nd year. We found out last year he's a pretty darn good coach, taking again a pretty new roster. bunch of pieces that maybe didn't really fit together super well, and he got them all the way to the GAC tournament final, and basically 20 minutes away from the NCAA tournament a year after just a total exodus with Coach Bohach going to Central Missouri and a bunch of players going D1 and transfers out, and just a lot of different things. So we found out a lot about his coaching acumen, and then this year he did it again with an entirely new roster, got them playing so well. They love each other. They care about each other. It's been really cool to see that camaraderie built over the course of 5-6 months, and the success on the court has been a byproduct of that chemistry that they have in other facets.
So would you say it's been fun?
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, and I get to have a lot of fun, and blessed to have great relationships with those guys, and the teams themselves, and just getting to see them day in, day out is a fun role to have for sure.
Previewing a little bit about what we will see today, it is semifinal Saturday in the Great American Conference here in 2025. Again, we're at Southside Arena in Fort Smith, Arkansas, which if you look at the map or just even have an idea of the map, and the Great American Conference entails 6 schools from Oklahoma, 6 schools from Arkansas. Fort Smith, if you didn't know, is right on the state line between Oklahoma and Arkansas. I mean, it is just right here, and you almost can't imagine something being any more centrally located in the footprint of the GAC. So from that perspective, it's absolutely fantastic because it's not really slanted toward any one team. No one has an advantage. And the teams that are farther out within the footprint, like a Northwestern Oklahoma and Alva, Oklahoma, or an Arkansas Monticello in Monticello, Arkansas, they're going to be farther out anyway. So that's just how that is. I think the placement of this for a tournament, no matter what sport, is absolutely fantastic. So I think it's great. Plus, this is a fantastic facility, as you see behind us right now. And, of course, I love the life going on behind us when we have a show like this. It's just great to see people warming up and getting ready for that. So to preview a little bit of what we'll see, we'll have women's games first, tentatively scheduled for noon and 2:15 on the women's side of the bracket. Top seed Southern Nazarene taking on the number 4 seed in southeastern Oklahoma. And then, of course, you get the second seed in Harding taking on the upset team yesterday, the number 6 seed in northwestern Oklahoma. What do you see in those 2 games?
Well, I think the first thing in the first matchup, SNU won both matchups this year, but they had their full complement of players in both. They've dealt with some injury issues themselves this year. Umi Atsuka went out for 8 games in that Southeastern game, January 25th, in Bethany with an ankle sprain. She's been back playing well, had 15 points on Thursday in the win over East Central, but still has some lingering effects. They're without Jordan Hoffman, who's dealing with a knee injury that she suffered against Arkansas Tech in February. So SNU hasn't faced Southeastern in their current state, kind of a little injured. So that will be interesting to see how they deal with that. Caitlin Kabisky dealt with a lot of foul trouble in the game in Bethany, didn't play super well. Everybody, on both sides was available in Durant, and SNU won a close one on the road. So I think these are 2 pretty evenly matched teams. They're different. I think how Southeastern defends Hannah Giddy will be interesting today. They don't have the size inside that Hannah provides and the length that she has. So I think Southeastern is probably going to need to send some doubles at her, and she handled those from East Central really well on Thursday. So how she handles those and how Southeastern determines how they're going to try to get her off her game a little bit, I think will go a long way to determining that one. The second game is interesting because Northwestern won at Harding this year, and in that game, their starting freshman point guard Kennedy Height went down with an injury that she was out for the year from. So Northwestern has beaten Harding without a full complement of players that they have on their roster at the start of the year. So that's interesting. And honestly, the thing that has really caused a lot of people to, maybe pull their hair out when it comes to this Harding team is this seems to happen every year where they drop a game or two that they probably shouldn't from a talent perspective, from a just general just being a better team than the other team. they drop some head scratchers, and they've done this over the past several years, and that game against Northwestern is one of them. So Northwestern's going to come in with a lot of confidence, knowing that, hey, we already beat this team as we're currently constructed. We just got the upset. We can do this. Now, the big factor is Northwestern played 50 minutes yesterday, and Carly Craig and Peyton Jones played every second each of those 50 minutes. And Coach Dieselhorst in the postgame said, never had a thought of taking them out, whether it was going to be 40 or 80 minutes. They weren't coming off the floor unless they fouled out. So we'll see how fresh they are. Harding obviously, had the first game on Thursday, so they've been resting the longest of anybody coming into this one. So that'll be interesting to see how Harding is able to deal with maybe a little bit of a tired Northwestern team.
All right, second games, and we'll get through this quickly. I appreciate your time, and I know that you have some things to do to get ready as well for all of this today. So really quickly then, the men's games that will be coming up to follow that. 5:45, it's the top seed. It is Southern Nazarene taking on Henderson State. And then the 8 o'clock matchup tonight, the 2 and 3 seeds, as Ouachita Baptist is taking on Harding.
So in Bethany, SNU got after Henderson State really good in January, and that was when Henderson State was on top of the conference at 7-1 coming into that game, and SNU just blitzed them. I mean, it was a really impressive performance, and I think that was the first time that everybody in the league was like, okay, this SNU team might have something here, and that was part of a 3-game stretch at home where they beat Henderson, Ouachita, and then crushed OBU back to back to back. So that was a big moment for SNU's team this year. Henderson got the better of them in Arkadelphia in overtime. So not sure really which one to believe more. But that one in Arkadelphia was pretty close. I think SNU has the guards that can defend Rondé Hill, the freshman sensation for Henderson State. I think they can contain him individually on the ball. Henderson State length will cause some problems for SNU offensively, just with their active hands and forcing turnovers. But I think that the Crimson Storm can get that done against Henderson State today. Harding-Ouachita is going to be a fun one. Yeah. The 2 best shooting teams in the conference, 2 of the best offensive teams really nationally from an efficiency standpoint. They do it in similar ways, but not similar ways. They both shoot the 3 really well. Harding shoots a lot more than Ouachita does from 3. Ouachita, does really well at all 3 levels, in close, mid-range, and from 3-point range. So Hobart Grayson only had 9 points on Thursday. They didn't need him to have more than that, as they had a total team effort in the 20-point win over Northwestern. I think him getting going will obviously be a big key, but also Ouachita is just a really well-rounded team, and if they defend like they did on Thursday against Northwestern, I struggle to see how Harding is going to be able to get enough good looks at the basket in order to come out with a win. But I could be wrong. The 3-point line's a big equalizer, and Harding has shooters in droves.
All right, well, you need to be listening for Luke McConnell on the call today. Our women's and men's tournaments here in Fort Smith, the Great American Conference Tournament 2025 edition, semifinal Saturday here from Southside Arena. Luke, thank you so much for taking
always
time
a pleasure.
To be here. The invitation is open, so
absolutely.
Be sure and
thank
come
you
back.
So much.
All right, I'm going to let him go now, and go ahead and you can set the mic down there. We'll have another guest here in just a moment as we talk here on Midwest Sports Saturday from Fort Smith, Arkansas. This is the first time that we have originated a program from Fort Smith, and I have to tell you, I really like these facilities here. It is absolutely fantastic. It's fun to be a part of. I mentioned at the outset that we have some football and volleyball on the channel. A lot more volleyball right now. We're looking ahead to the 2025 college volleyball season already, and we are previewing a number of coaches. And to see this done, really the only way, come on in. The only way to get this done with these previews is to start a little earlier, so that's where we are with volleyball. And we'll be doing the same. We'll start some of our football previews in the month of April. So be looking for that with a focus on NAI and Division II now. And I am joined, and it's a privilege to be joined today by Michael Beaumont, who is the Director of Athletics and Activities here for the Fort Smith School District. And we appreciate all that you're doing. It's fun having the tournament in Fort Smith. First off, tell us a little bit about how this tournament got here.
Well, I have a few friends that are in the GAC, and
having friends helps.
That's right. I knew there was going to be an opportunity of maybe looking for a new home. Geographically, Fort Smith is in the middle of everybody in the conference, so we thought it would be a great fit. I know that we have a lot to offer. We have hotels and restaurants. There's so many things for the kids to do here in Fort Smith. Enjoy the venues aren't too bad here as well for everybody to play basketball in.
Definitely think so. It's one of those things too. I have a number of family members in Arkansas, and specifically in the Northwest Arkansas region. But there are times that you get out on I-40 and drive through Fort Smith, and you just keep driving.
Right.
You just don't get to see a lot of the city itself. This is a great city.
I think it has so much to offer. There is a newer end, a little more modern side to the city where you can find everything from Target to the franchise chains restaurants. But then a lot of our teams are staying downtown, and so you have the historic part of Fort Smith and where civilization ended back in the Oklahoma days, and it's where the Marshall's Museum is, and so there's a lot of history, and it's just a great spot. It's not too busy where our teams and our fans can't get around town, fairly quickly. We always kid that you can get anywhere in Fort Smith in 10 minutes. And so I think it's just a great venue.
It was interesting. Of course, I have grown up and live in Oklahoma.
Right.
And driving, once you get off I-40, I wanted to take that route to get here. I was familiar with that route. I don't know how many times you've driven through two-lane roads in eastern Oklahoma, but I went ahead and decided, let's go ahead and go I-40. And turning off and going through town.
Right.
And I thought it was really interesting to see all of the different exits to Oklahoma towns.
That's right.
right
Yeah.
here in Fort Smith.
That's right.
And you can go to Fort Smith, but by the way, you can also, just turn off over here to Spiro or to somewhere else along the way. So I thought that was neat to get to see.
Well, the biggest difference there, I think, for you is that the two-lane roads that you have in Oklahoma, at least they're paved. In Arkansas, they're usually just dirt roads.
Yeah. I will say I've driven a number of times because we have the volleyball tournament in Hot Springs.
Right.
And it's in the fall.
Oh.
And I spend a lot of my time on the road praying that deer don't come out in front of me. So I've seen a number of deer, but never had one in front of me yet, so that's a good deal. Mr. Beaumont, first off, tell us how we got here. But then, again, I know that you know a thing or two about basketball. I know that you spent a significant amount of time in a Division I program in the University of Tennessee. Go Vols!
Yes, sir.
You may be sitting next to the biggest Tennessee Vols fan in the state of Oklahoma, sitting in Arkansas right now, of course.
Right.
Really big-time fan of Coach Summit and what she has done over the years. I've always been a big fan of hers. So I know that you know a thing or two about basketball.
Yes, sir.
I feel like we're seeing some pretty good basketball on hand this weekend.
I think if anybody was questioning about what type of basketball Division II is, all those questions have been answered so far in the tournament. I mean, what great basketball we have seen. Last night was a war to end the night. I mean, we've just seen some great basketball on the men's and women's side. It's been great. We had double overtime yesterday. I mean, we have great basketball all week, and I don't think anybody would say anything different is going to happen today. The matchups that are going to happen here in Southside Arena is going to be, I think, it's again. I hate to reuse the word, but I think they're going to be battles. I think they're going to be wars today.
Well, it is absolutely fantastic. Well, I know that you have many things to do, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm very thankful that you sit with us here. But tell us a little bit really quickly about the Fort Smith School District, size, reach. I'm hearing tell that we'll be at Northside next year. So talk a little bit about what all you oversee.
We're blessed here. We have two of the largest classification high schools in Fort Smith with Northside and Southside. So the Battle of Rogers Avenue is very real in Fort Smith, Arkansas. But with that blessing, the community passed a bond, and the millage helped build not one arena but two identical arenas. And when I say identical, we have the same number of seats. The square footage is about the same. Everything other than the colors is same intentionally, because we want the kids on north side of town to have the same as the south side of town, and vice versa. I want that to happen for all of our kids. But with that, blessed to have, I feel like, two collegiate style venues for our high school kids, and it's an advantage, I think, to have the tournament here, because when you're not playing in one, you can practice in one. Same feel of both. And then we kid our kids all the time that play basketball in these arenas at the high school level that you might go play at the next level and not play in a venue as nice as these are.
That's true. This is incredibly nice.
Oh, it's great.
We appreciate it
Yes,
a lot.
sir.
Well, Michael Beaumont, thank you so much for having us here, having the GAC here,
Yes,
and
sir.
spending time with us here on Midwest Sports Saturday on Midwest Sports Net. I appreciate that a lot. And again, not only fantastic facilities, the hospitality here has been great. The conference, I believe, has been welcomed in
Yes, sir.
with open arms by not only your staff with the school district, the ISD, and all of that, but the city itself. And it's been fantastic, and I have nothing but good things to say.
Well, we hope that means that it'll be here for a long, long time, and I'm sure that you, as well as everybody else in the GAC, is learning that I don't do a whole lot, but I surround myself with lots of great people who take care of everybody, and it's a great place to work.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. God bless you. Have a good day, and we'll get to work here and get some more games heading up. So you can go ahead and set the mic down. We'll leave it there. Maybe one more guest here in just a moment if she's able to show up here. I think I saw her on site just a moment ago, so we'll check with that. In the meantime, I was talking about football and volleyball in April. We will start our football previews with coaches throughout the NAIA and Division II as well. So please be sure, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do that. We're almost to a couple thousand subscribers, so that's nice. And I know you don't have to subscribe to watch the videos. There are a lot of folks who do that. That's all right, too. But it's just kind of one of those things that I can honestly tell you I don't know what the algorithm does and exactly what it all means when it comes to subscribers or what all's going to be pushed out or pulled in by anyone's particular YouTube channel. But it is kind of cool to see that number go up, and it's encouraging. It's always good, and I think it lends a little bit of credibility to the channel. And I hope we have some credibility with you all. We enjoy talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond, and being in places like this. I have to tell you really quickly that Midwest Sports Saturday, we have a couple more spots in the spring that we're going to be showing up for, and we'll touch down in a city or two throughout the Midwest and in the Southwest here in this area. But in the fall, once we get to football season again, Midwest Sports Saturday has some great locations, good places to be on hand. I know we really expected to get to be up at Wichita this last fall. We did not get the chance to do that, and you know, obviously there were a lot of things, hospital issues and stuff like that. That's all in the past. But we have a few more locations for this fall that we know are already locked in, and we're excited to get to have this show on the road. So Midwest Sports Saturday, occasionally on a Thursday. As a matter of fact, pretty sure that the last Thursday in August, go ahead and put that down on your calendar. That is one that is 99% locked in. We'll be on the road, and it's going to be some fun. NAIA football, we'll talk about that, and we'll be in some Division II locations too. So just something to keep in mind as you're planning your viewing for the fall. It's football time. I think it's almost always football time, no matter what year. I'm not sure or what time of year. I'm not sure there's ever really an off season. I know coaches like to have an off season. When I coached, I liked having an off season when it was there, but I don't know if there's necessarily an off season anymore. It's just we can talk about all these sports year round. So, of course, talking basketball here at the Great American Conference, and I believe we're going to be able to get one more guest in here in a moment. If she comes on in, go ahead, make yourself at home here. We do have one more guest on the program today, and we get to visit now with Sierra Clark, who is working also on the Great American Conference broadcast for 2025 in basketball, working as the sideline reporter here.
Yes.
And Sierra, I know that you do a lot of different things, but sideline reporting, is that new to your elements?
Yeah, it's fairly new. So I've spent about 5-6 years in local news, and I really wanted to get on the sidelines and get more in-game experience, with the producer talking to your ear, really adjusting on the fly instead of just reading a script, even though I love hosting and all the anchoring things, but I just love being in the in-game environment and talking to the coaches and players and just giving fans the answers they want to hear. And so I'm grateful the Great American Conference let me do this. My first time sideline reporting was for the Arkansas high school football state championship games. It was freezing. So I'm glad that basketball is an indoor sport. And
Yeah.
lots of games, but definitely lots of opportunities for me to, get to know all these interesting teams and players and where they come from, and Division II athletes don't always get all the glory and exposure. They're doing it for the love of the game, so that's what makes it even sweeter.
Absolutely. You were most recently working with a television station in Little Rock, Arkansas. So are you still in the area?
Yes, so I live in Little Rock. I worked for KTHV for 3 years, and then before that I was at WCJV in Gainesville, Florida for 2 years. So kind of bounced around the markets, the local news route, just grounding it out there. But now I'm based in Little Rock and Orlando, Florida as well. And so just kind of picking up freelance opportunities as well as time goes on. So yeah.
Freelancing is fun.
It really is.
You definitely have a lot of different options that way.
Yeah. And you can kind of control your schedule, but when it's time to pick it up, you got to pick it up. And if someone calls and say, hey, I need help, you got to say yes. You got to say yes to all the opportunities that are provided for you.
You were talking about Gainesville, Florida. Why Gainesville?
Well, that's where I went to school, University of Florida. And so for local news, since it's such like a competitive, so many people want to be on TV and talk about sports, but then a lot of people don't realize that how much work goes. I mean, you understand, obviously, but with local TV, you have to write your scripts. You have to shoot video. I remember just going in the middle of nowhere, Florida, just shooting high school football and then racing back to the station, editing it, doing all of that, and then having it on the air and talking about a bunch of high school games. And so a lot of people don't understand the time crunch and like the versatility you need to have. And so then that kind of teaches you grit and time management, and sometimes you have to like cut your losses in those situations. Technical difficulties happen a lot. Sometimes you can't control them. And so you just got to roll with the punches. And that just teaches you how to just control the controllables. I'm talking like a basketball coach, but it applies in life as well.
You've been talking to a number of basketball coaches this week.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Just say maybe a few of them. But, so Gainesville. And so back to your original question, out of school, it's very hard to find a job because it's such a competitive field. And I interned at the station in Gainesville, and then I knew they were going to have an opening. And I was like, hey, like I really want to work here, and whatever job is offered to you, you kind of have to take it, especially early in your career. And so I was working in Gainesville, getting paid like $11 an hour for being a sports anchor. And I would say that my first year was rough. Oh my goodness. Like, I think they wanted to cancel me at some point. Because I remember one time, hopefully I don't make Gator fans mad again, but I went to the University of Florida, so I feel like I can recite this again. There was a point where there was Mr. Two Bits, the Two Bits cheer. It's something that the Gators do before the games start. And he passed away. And so I talked about, I had to report that. And I talked about how I recited the Two Bits cheer. And I'm not going to say it because I don't want to mess it up again, because that's what I did. I messed up the cheer. And people were oh my God, they were calling for my head in Gainesville. Like, they were like, this girl needs to go. And I'm like, I got in trouble, obviously, and I had to apologize on air. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is terrible. Like, what the heck? Like, da-da-da-da. Eventually, things blow over. People forget you make mistakes. But now I've learned, okay, I need to double check things, quadruple check things. You don't want to mess anything up. Another thing, like, with names, sometimes, like, if you mess up a name and it's helpful, like, you've helped me. Hey, see, I've asked you a million times how do you say certain names. Thankful for pronunciation guides as well, but you want to make sure that you're not doing things wrong, because people do, take it personally. And I understand, especially in local TV, if you're pronouncing a city wrong, especially in, Arkansas, where I live, like small town Arkansas, people take pride in their towns, and you want to get those names right. You want to give credit to whoever you're talking about.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. And unless you've done it, and there's nothing like the pain of mispronouncing a name that will make you want to not ever do that again.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I understand that. Well, Sierra, you were working with the Believe Network as well of late too. Tell us a little bit about that and your work there.
I was freelancing with them for the college football season because I really wanted to get into the podcast route as well. So after my contract ended, I wanted to kind of just pick up as many opportunities as possible. And so I saw that they were looking for college football hosts. And so Believe has podcasts for pretty much every single Division I team, and they needed a host for the Gator football season. I was like, perfect, I follow them anyways. And so we had podcast episodes before the games, and then we recapped it like the day after. And it was a bit of a rough start to the season for the Gators because they were just like, they lost to Miami bad, lost to Texas A&M, and then our quarterback, Graham Mertz, tore his ACL, and then all of a sudden Florida had their freshman, DJ Lagway, who I can talk about for hours, just come out of, I wouldn't say nowhere because he was an incredible player out of Texas, Houston area, I believe, and he just was the truth. It was like, oh my gosh, we have like the second coming of Tim Tebow or something. So it was great to kind of see how the Gators progress, beating Ole Miss, beating LSU, beating these SEC teams that had all this hype. And so it just gives us a lot more to talk about when it comes to the next season. So it's fun, podcasting, because I can kind of, show my own personality rather than sticking to a script and limited 2 minutes or whatever that may be. So it's a lot of fun.
I understand. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, and I know that you have things to do this morning also, and I know it's not too far from game time here, which you want to watch these games. I'll promote that in just a second. Really quickly, where do people find you if they're looking online or they want to see some of your work? Yeah,
you can go to Sierra Clark TV on Twitter and YouTube. Can't think of my YouTube name off the top, but if you just type Sierra, Cierra, Clark with no E, so CLARK, it'll pop up on YouTube.
All right. Well, we appreciate you roaming the sidelines here
Thank
at the
you.
GAC tournament this year. It's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed getting to meet you. So thank you so much, and thank you for taking time here with us on Midwest Sports Saturday.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, and if you want to, you can just set that mic down, and we'll wrap things up here from Fort Smith, Arkansas. Of course, Midwest Sports Saturday. We are here on site today. And I told you, I was talking during in between guests just a moment ago, don't forget, we're going to be on the road a lot this fall. And I encourage you, please take the time to not only subscribe, like the videos and things like that, but we encourage you to watch these videos. We enjoy talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. Really quickly, you can watch the Great American Conference Tournament today, noon Central Standard Time. And I can say Central Standard Time for about a few more hours because don't forget, daylight saving time changes today. So it's daylight saving time as of about 2 o'clock in the morning. Keep that in mind. But noon Central Standard Time on YouTube, and you can go to the Great American Conference Sports Network, but you can also go to GAC Athletics on YouTube, and you can watch these 4 semifinals and, of course, the championships tomorrow with the winners from the semifinals today. I want to give a huge shout-out first to Luke McConnell and to Michael Beaumont and to Sierra Clark for being guests with me on the program today here in Fort Smith. But I also want to give a humongous shout-out to Matt Johnson and to Nathan Johnson and to all of the folks with the Great American Conference Sports Network, the GAC Sports Network, M&M Productions. Keith, the cameraman, he is a great friend, and I have enjoyed getting to meet him and get to know him. He is right off camera. I'm pointing at him right now, and he'll give me a sly smile. That's about all. I know he won't get on camera and talk with me, but I will tell you, Keith, the cameraman, is the man. And I appreciate him. He's been a part of some of these broadcasts behind the scenes, even without a camera. I mean, he held up an iPhone one time in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to keep me on the air and go live with that. And I appreciate him and all the work and all the folks who are behind the scenes right now that let me be a part of the broadcast here, but also on the GAC Sports Network. So all of my love to you guys. You all are a great crew, but you're great people and you're great friends, and I appreciate that. So, from Fort Smith, Arkansas, don't forget to tune in to watch these games today. I'm Joey McWilliams here on Midwest Sports Saturday on the Midwest Sportsnet YouTube channel. Please subscribe. God bless you all. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.